A Bajrang Dal activist called Harsha has been brutally murdered in Karnataka's Shivamogga district just days after this area became the de facto cradle of pro-hijab protests. Harsha was in his mid-20s and was hacked to death in full public glare by a mob. The killing has drawn outrage, and members of the Hindu right are now demanding an impartial inquiry by the NIA, no less, viewers. Though it isn't clear if his killing was linked to his defense of a uniform dress code at pre-university college, the fact is that he had received threats in the recent past for espousing Hindu causes. And some of those, viewers, are visible on your screens. He has been putting out, of course, messages on social media in support of those that wanted to ensure that the schools would adopt a uniform dress code. The police, viewers, have made initial arrests and are now trying to ascertain the motive for the grisly killing that was recorded on camera, presumably to feed a fiendish sadism. Harsha's grieving sister has revealed that the video of her brother's hacking was sent to her in what can only be described as an act of satanic perversity. Listen to the family.
ಸರ್ ಯಾರೋ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಿನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮನ ಹೊಡೆದಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಚಿಕ್ಕಮಂಗ್ಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಸರ್ ನಾನು ನಿನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮನ ಹೊಡೆದಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ವಾಟ್ಸ್ಆಪ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟಸ್ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಸರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಏನು ಎತ್ತ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಒಟ್ಟು ನಿನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮನ ಹೊಡೆದಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ ತಗೋ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ನೋಡು ಅಂತ ಸೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್ 8 ಗಂಟೆ 8:30 ಊಟ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೋಗಿರೋನು ಆಚೆ ಹೆಣವಾಗವನು ನಾವ್ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳೋಣ ಈಗ ಯಾರ ಹತ್ರ ನ್ಯಾಯ ಮಾತ್ರ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಇದೀವಿ ಸರಿಯಾದ ನ್ಯಾಯ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಅಣ್ಣ ತಮ್ಮಂದಿರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕೋ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾರೆ ಹೌದಾ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಸರ್ ಅವ್ನು ಇನ್ನೇನೇನು ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ನು ಹಿಂದೂ ಅವ್ನ್ ಜೈರಾಮ್ ಶ್ರೀರಾಮ್ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟ ನನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮ ನೋಡಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅವನ್ನ ಹೆತ್ತೊಟ್ಟೆ ಹೆಂಗ್ ನೋಡೋಣ ಸರ್ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಕ್ರೂರಿಗಳಿದಾರ ಮನುಷ್ಯತ್ವ ಮಾನವೀಯತೆಗೆ ಬೆಲೆನೇ ಇಲ್ವಾ ಅವ್ರ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಮಕ್ಳಿರ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ ಅವರು ಹೆತ್ತಿರ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ 1-2 ಈ ತರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರ ಸರ್ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಎಲ್ಲಾರ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಈಗ ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲಾರು ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಆಚೆ ಹೋದವ್ರು ಒಳಗೆ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಹೇಳಿ ಯಾವ್ದ್ರಲ್ಲೂ ಒಂದ್ ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಹುಡ್ಗ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಇರೋ ನನಗೆ ಬರೀ ಒಂದು ಹರ್ಷ ಹಿಂದೂ ಅಂತ ಹೆಸರಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದೇ ತಪ್ಪಾಗೋಯ್ತಾ ಅವನು ಇವತ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮಂಗ್ ನೋಡೋರಿಲ್ಲ ನಮಗಿರೋನ್ ಒಬ್ನೇ ತಮ್ಮ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನ್ಯಾಯ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನ್ಯಾಯವನ್ನು ಕೊಡಿಸ್ಬಿಡಿ ನಾಳೆ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು ಈ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ.
Viewers, this killing, and it's rather unfortunate, will only add to the communal frenzy that has already been whipped up by certain motivated interests. The state has imposed curbs on movement in the district, but it is unlikely if tensions will ease as a blame game has begun. Listen in.
From yesterday night, the whole thing has been, investigation has been started. There are some clues and the investigation is going on. I have got information that they got some leads. Probably they will take up to the logical conclusion very soon. Siddaramaiah sees politics, he talks only illogical things.
मुझे लगता है एक साजिश है, साजिश करके उनका हत्या किया है. सीरियस इंक्वायरी होना चाहिए और उसके पीछे कौन कौन है सभी को अंदर डालना, सीरियस इंक्वायरी करना. और अदरवाइज हर जगह में एक्शन रिएक्शन होने का संभव है.
ರಾತ್ರಿ ನಡೆದು ಬರುವಾಗ ಮಧ್ಯ ರಸ್ತೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಮತ್ ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಬಂಕ್ ಹತ್ರ ಅವನ ಅಟ್ಟಾಡಿಸಿ ಚೂರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಿದು ಸಾಯಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಶಿವಮೊಗ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದಂಥ ವೈಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲಿಗೆ ತರಲಾಗಿದೆ.
It is high time for us to consider this fact, and yes, the Karnataka government has to act very swiftly and as tough as possible. And this has gone beyond limits. Harsha is a victim of harsh reality today. The local Congress leaders have threatened that anybody doing or posting such things on social media in favor of Hindus will be killed.
Investigations have revealed that certain incendiaries who are opposing a state government order calling upon all students to strictly adhere to a prescribed uniform dress code in classrooms have been at the forefront of vitiating relations between Hindus and Muslims. That's what's being referred to. Over the last few days, hijab-donning young women have been instigated to defy High Court orders forbidding any student from entering pre-university classrooms visibly sporting religious markers. You have seen those visuals of the protests at the barricades. The leads that have been tracked all point to the same so-called liberal ecosystem that routinely berates the votaries of Hindutva. In fact, over the last few years, certain intellectuals have gathered, sometimes overseas, to plot to dismantle, in their words, Hindutva, and claim that those who are the adherents of this political ideology have begun carrying out an undeclared genocide against Muslims. These claims have been made, viewers, without anyone adducing an iota of proof. The campaign is, of course, conceived to malign the Modi government, but is beginning to radicalize many young Muslims who feel they need to fight back. Yes, against an unseen enemy. It is quite possible that Harsha may have been murdered by those who have fallen victim to this scurrilous campaign of calumny. Here are some hard facts. And on this show, viewers, I bring you these hard facts so you can get closer to the truth, so that you're better informed, so that tomorrow, when someone suggests that there is an undeclared genocide going on in this country, you remind them of the fact that in this unfortunate game of political one-upmanship, ordinary Indians, Hindus, Muslims of other faiths, are becoming victims. And this is what I mean. These hard facts reveal that Islamist radicals have been actively hunting saffron leaders and activists over the last few years. I want to ask all of those today who claim that there's some undeclared genocide, who's responsible for the death of Sanjeet, for example? The probe status would suggest that 10 PFI SDPI members are responsible for his murder. He was also done away with, viewers, silenced, for espousing causes that he considered were politically vital for him. R. Rudresh, RSS worker, 2016 October, killed in Karnataka's Bengaluru. Prime accused once again, a PFI member lodged in jail. Today, viewers, Congress party that once shared a stage with the PFI, in fact just a few days back, even gave them a platform in Rajasthan, has said that the PFI, this NI designated radical organization, needs to be banned in Karnataka. Now viewers, this flies in the face of what Rahul Gandhi would tell you on a daily basis. Kamlesh Tiwari, Ranjit Srinivas, Chandarkant Sharma, Nandu Krishnan. In the instance of Nandu Krishnan, 8 SDPI activists have been held in this conspiracy for murder. It just goes on. There's a huge list, viewers. I can go on and on and on, and it'll take me half an hour. But viewers, Harsha's killing, and I want to come back to that, as also those of several Hindus in the recent past, has only served to prompt one basic question. And that question is, has the hysteria whipped up against Hindutva by those who plot to dismantle it reached a point now of no return? I want to open this up without delay. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, Senior Advocate Sai Deepak also here with us. Nupur Sharma of the BJP, Sanjay Jha, Saida Falak of the AIMM, Tausif Ahmed, lawyer and political analyst, all with us. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, what do you make of this latest instance of bigotry, unrestrained, unequivocal bigotry?
Yes, good evening, Rahul. It is indeed a terribly sad day. You know, Harsha is yet another Hindu name lost in the midst of victimhood and propaganda. But before Harsha, there was Kishan. Before Kishan, there was Kamlesh. And before Kamlesh, there were thousands whose names don't even register in our minds because they have been clouded with selectivity. And because all these people have worked for Hindu causes, they have systematically been dehumanized. So if they are RSS workers or VHP workers or Bajrang Dal workers, their lives don't count at all. Their deaths are explained away, that this was a natural cause going to happen anyway. And so we maintain silence on more than 190 Muslim mob hate attacks on Hindus, Dalits and non-Dalits over the past 2.5 years, Rahul, including Bharat Yadav, who was lynched after being called a kafir, including in Ranchi, where a Muslim mob segregated bus passengers based on their religion before wanting to set it on fire, including Dalit Gangaram, who was lynched because he dared to file a police complaint when his daughter was abducted, including breaking Ambedkar statue, thrashing Dalit families after they objected to a Dalit girl, Sarita, being assaulted by a Muslim, including nearly lynching a Dalit Jayanti Bhatti for daring to wear a Pathan suit, including going on a murderous rampage in Bangalore over alleged blasphemy by Dalit Nitin. That particular instance, you may recall, Rahul, took a backseat to the propaganda of Muslims joining hands and forming a ring around a Hindu temple to save it miraculously. None of these attacks elicit any outrage. I'll tell you something else that hasn't elicited any outrage. The statement recently by Karnataka Congress leader Mukarram Khan, who said, and I quote him, "Those who stop Muslim girls from wearing hijab will be chopped to pieces," unquote. And a few days later, Harsha is indeed chopped to pieces, and he did no such thing as stopping anyone from wearing a hijab. His crime was to ask for a uniform dress code. Rahul, you have to understand, secularism cannot win over Sharia. It stands no chance. This is an argument any one of us cannot win because we are man, not God. And God or Allah has specifically prescribed a dress code, 2431, 3359. God or Allah has specifically ordered that those who abuse Allah and His Messenger, Allah has cursed them in this world and the hereafter and prepared for them a humiliating punishment, 3357. And that the penalty for those who wage war against Allah is that they be killed or crucified, 533. We need to understand, anyone who is perceived to have abused Allah or His Messenger or prevented His order from being followed will sooner or later meet the fate of Kamlesh Tiwari or Samuel Pati or Kishan or Harsha. It may take a week, a month, a year, a decade, but it will happen, Rahul. The second thing quickly we need to understand, just 20 seconds, is that it is the moderate Muslim who perennially plays the victim card and cushions the extremists. They snare the fundamentalists but spare the fundamentals. The irony is that they want non-believers against whom so much violence has been ordered to feel good about it and not be fearful. Isn't that nice? The holy book, Rahul, grabs the neck of the believer and of the non-believer severs it.
Well, strong words there by Dr. Ranganathan. But viewers, there are some questions that I want to put out there. And all day we have been asking these questions, and let me go over each one of them. Does being a member of Bajrang Dal lessen the gravity of the hate crime against Harsha? That's one fundamental question, viewers, that we have been asking here on Times Now. Is the Candlelight Brigade ignoring Harsha's death because he belongs to the saffron fold? These are questions you are seeing as they appear at the bottom of your screens. Given the history of threats, can an Islamist angle to the killing be ruled out? 4. Tiwari, Rudresh, Sharat, Pujari, now Harsha. Is violence being used to dismantle Hindutva? Fundamental question here. Rahul Gandhi draws distinctions between Hindutva and Hinduism, but silent on Islam and Islamism. Why? Why, viewers? Why? Has opposition's embrace of radicals like Maulana Taqi Raza Abbas Siddiqui emboldened these radicals? These are questions that need to be asked. There is one that, Mr. Jha, I want to pose to you tonight. The Congress and the ecosystem that holds it up, and you know the ecosystem that I'm talking about. Will it today take responsibility for whipping up hate against another political ideology, like Hindutva, for example? Are you responsible? Are you responsible?
Rahul, two short points. One is because I think yours is a very responsible channel, and I actually look forward to participating in the debates that you have regularly every evening. I do believe that right now, all of us are public figures. We have to, take accountability for what we say or what we allude to. The investigations are on. I don't want to sit here and take these presumptuous calls that some of the cheerleaders of the Sangh Parivar might do today, which is to actually point fingers and literally frame and accuse an individual or a community for having endorsed the violence that has happened. No one in their right senses, Rahul, can ever endorse the kind of manifestations of hate that we are seeing on your program that I think India has seen today. I just want to bring to your notice one thing. And I will say that for any young person at the age of 28, my own daughter happens to be of that age, to say that this is just another event, that I think will be callous and absolutely crude. So in the strongest possible words, I condemn the violence. But I want to bring 2 points here which are extremely relevant. Number one, why aren't we talking about a man, a 54-year-old man called Koramveer Haridas, who has been today as we talk, hacked to death in Kerala? And guess what the family there has alleged? Just like we are assuming here by insinuation or innuendo that it is some members of the minority community that probably may have indulged in the violence, they have alleged that the RSS and the BJP have killed this 54-year-old man. So there has to be, when it comes to human life, I don't care a damn what anybody says, but for me, the life of every Indian matters. There's one point, though, that I want to point out, because, the BJP comes across as a party that is very concerned about the majority sentiment. Well, I want to ask the BJP this question, maybe Nupur can answer this later, that when the CIA, which by the way is one of the most powerful bodies in the world after the US president, called the VHP and the Bajrang Dal as a militant religious organization, what did your government do, since it is still led by Mr. Narendra Modi? What did it do to try and remove the stigma on the Bajrang Dal and the BJP and the VHP of being a violent organization that almost has, shall we say, complexion of terror built into it? Your party has done nothing.
Okay.
So you don't come on TV channels and utter platitudes because you're only doing it because there's a Karnataka election coming up.
Okay, so I hope you're not suggesting, Mr. Jha. Okay, I hope you're not suggesting, Mr. Jha, as I began asking you the first question, that because this individual belongs to the Bajrang Dal, the gravity of the crime against him lessens.
Not at all.
By citing this CI example. Secondly, before I bring in Nupur Sharma and J. Sai Deepak, I just want to perhaps point out slight anomaly in the example you picked. Now, the RSS worker or that of the CPIM, their fight is of a political nature, sir. This is not a religious fight. Okay? I am not here trying to in any way justify any violence. All violence is bad. But you must compare apples with apples, and you know how the saying goes. So there is a slight attempt at drawing a false equivalence. All political parties have unfortunately indulged in killing each other's members. It happened in Uttar Pradesh just yesterday, where violence broke out between the SP and the BJP. Luckily there wasn't any carnage, but we can't equate that with what has happened to Harsha. You talk about the fact that we must condemn unequivocally hate. Of course we must. But we also must end the hypocrisy, the calumny, and the selective and malignant targeting of a political ideology because of what is backlash that we are witnessing. And that's the backlash. And I only asked you, will you take responsibility for spreading canards about this undeclared genocide on Muslims, which will radicalize, sir, and I'm saying this again, I've seen it in Kashmir, radicalize young Muslims, turn them into mobs, and then exact the kind of violence or revenge or retribution that they imagine they should be against an enemy that they imagine is targeting them. So Sanjay Jha, very quickly I want to ask you, because Rahul Gandhi constantly talks about Hindutva being this evil, twin of Hinduism, but he never talks about Islam and Islamism. Why?
Rahul, let me tell you, everything that you have said as a prelude to your question is absolutely indisputably right. There is nobody in their right senses who I think is blessed with any human sensibilities who will not agree with you. I have only one point to make, because the truth, Rahul, whether you like it or not, let's not try and pussyfoot around and try and soft pedal this subject.
I get the feeling sometimes, Sanjay Jha, that there is an attempt to paper over the sins of this ecosystem that has been driving an agenda. Now, I want to bring in Nupur Sharma to respond to you. I'm only trying to, as a responsible anchor here.
Now, just one second, just listen to this. There's a BJP MLA by the name of Raghavinder Singh. If you can get your team to put out the video, it will scare the daylights out of the audience. He is a BJP candidate.
Sanjay Jha, is anyone here today trying to condone hate? Nobody is. Everyone condemns it. But unfortunately, we don't condemn it equivocally, and that's the point. You will constantly talk, Sanjay Jha, about the BJP and the RSS bigot or what have you. You're entitled to, of course. But by doing so, do you see what I'm saying? You're adding to a sense of deep Muslim persecution when Rahul, you do not tell viewers that there have been people like yours truly sitting here, whose community was targeted by another bunch of incendiaries 30 years ago, or when Sanjeet, Rudresh, Tiwari, Srinivas, Sharma, Krishnan, and the list that Dr. Anand Ranganathan, with high fidelity, read out.
Shall we start with Pehlu Khan? And listen,
that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. You see, if you're going to constantly, that is precisely what I'm going to tell you. No, you should be starting, sir, with Kamlesh Tiwari.
Why not? Why not with whoever I believe?
No, why not with whoever? You can't even bring yourself to take his name. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. You should be starting with Kamlesh Tiwari and saying that, look, today we have a problem. Anyhow, I don't want to go down this route. 1 second, please. Look, it's very odious to be constantly counting dead bodies. Yeah, I don't want to be doing that. And Sanjay Jha, I just hope that you would elevate this by taking a kind of larger view, an inclusive view of this great tragedy that is unfolding in this country. Nupur Sharma, quick response to what Mr. Sanjay Jha has said about the fact that your party has spread hate, and those that are ideological cousins of yours are hate mongers, bigots, etc. Perhaps even in a sense, he's suggesting that they deserve it. I don't know what he's trying to say, but please respond.
I never said that, Rahul.
Well, it came across as that.
Good evening, Rahul, to you.
So please.
I condemned it first. I condemned it first as a record.
Not with any equanimity. That's what I'm saying. Anyhow. Yes. Yes.
Good evening, Rahul, to you, to panelists, and also to your viewers. First and foremost, my thoughts and prayers are very earnestly with the family members, more so the mother and the sister of Harsha. Secondly, I thank you for actually finally calling out for what it is. Hindus are being hunted for being Hindus. And thank you for saying it out loud on your television debate. Now, as for Mr. Sanjay Jha, certainly, we need to value human life. What really actually literally scared the living daylights of Indians was Rajiv Gandhi defending the Sikh massacre, because Sikhs were killed for being what they were. Practicing Sikhs. When thousands of Sikhs were murdered, you and your party and your brethren chose to actually promote them, so much so, prime accused named by none other than actually a very senior journalist who had to leave the country because they were threatened by your gundas of Congress party, had to leave this country. Those people, they named prime accused, and you promoted them to the chair of chief minister, union cabinet minister, and what have you. So, when you talk about CIA, saying that, some Bajrang Dal and VHP, well, blame yourself and your Rahul Gandhi for that, for going abroad, for telling the American High Commissioner that Hindus are more dangerous than the banned terrorist organization LET. Because I challenge you at this debate right now to cite one single judgment from the world, forget India, wherein a Hindu has been convicted for religious murder, religious massacre, or for that matter, religious terrorism in the name of Hinduism. Now, please don't name those faulty Congress politicians. They killed Sikhs. They killed Sikhs. No, she's not convicted. She's not convicted. I challenge you. I challenge you to present the judgment to me. Otherwise, you're just exposing how ignorant and silly you are. You're stupid for that matter, for not calling out why there is not a single not in my name protest, why there's not a single award wapsi happening, why there's not a single India is intolerant drama happening. The reality is, just shut him up.
No. One second, don't lose your cool. Relax.
I tell you what.
Let's not speak over each other.
Harsha. No, I have to say this. It's not just Harsha.
Sanjay Jha, she didn't interrupt you at all.
Rahul.
You have to give her that. Please, she did not interrupt you at all, Sanjay Jha. You can respond. No one is going anywhere. These are very serious issues and they must be debated, but they must be debated with some decorum. Please, one second. We are not going anywhere on this. Please. Yes, Nupur Sharma, make your arguments very quickly.
10 seconds, Rahul. Let me finish this. It's not just Harsha. It's not just, please, he's just going to
just you respond. Nupur Sharma, please. Nupur Sharma, if you allow him to get under your skin, you're going to have a problem.
The fact is, before
I am handling this debate. I am urging Sanjay Jha not to interrupt you. You make your point. Just make your point.
Please.
Yeah. Make your point.
While he looks for the judgment which convicts a Hindu for murdering in the name of Hinduism, and I've openly challenged him to cite the conviction order, I will actually remind you, Rahul, before Harsha, there was a Prashant Pujari in Karnataka. He was stabbed to death. You know why? Because he protesting against illegal cow slaughter. He was also murdered by PFI. PFI is what? A member of whose the prime accused actually was sharing stage and, arranging functions with cabinet ministers from the Congress-led government in Karnataka.
What's the point you're making?
Why Mr. Sanjay Jha is actually today, why Sanjay Jha is looking for loopholes? Because PFI and SDPI are the same thing and they finance and support the Congress party. Let's not forget in 2017, the SDPI financed and sponsored and helped a Congress candidate in the Gujarat 2017 elections. And mind you, the way they murder their targets is by stabbing them.
No, who are you talking about? Are you talking about Mr. Mevani? Who are you talking about?
Vishal, you have
Nupur Sharma, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Mr. Mevani.
Mr. Mevani. Okay, so you're talking about Mr. Mevani. Okay, one second. So
it was reported in the news.
Okay, so one second. So just one. Let me just come in here. Jesai Deepak, look, we can of course have this hanging match between the BJP and the Congress till the cows come home. But I want to ask you a couple of specific questions that I raised. Does being a member, let's say that the Bajrang Dal is not an organization that Sanjay Jha and his party recognize as working within the boundaries of Indian democracy. Let's for a moment recognize and accept the Congress proposition. But does being a member of the Bajrang Dal lessen the gravity of the hate crime against Harsha? And I want to ask you, is violence being used to dismantle Hindutva today?
So if you remember, Rahul, in the last debate on the same hijab controversy, I specifically pointed out that this region is highly radicalized and volatile as a consequence of offshoots of Simi operating from behind the scenes, and even, let's say, they've come to the fore. And what you've seen is the exact apprehension playing itself out. This clearly tells you the manufactured nature of the controversy. But for a moment, let's actually keep the blessed hijab on the side. A Hindu boy, 26-year-old boy, has just died. His mother is wailing. And we are fighting over politics. And let me say this bluntly, this was not a political murder. This was a religiously motivated assassination. There, I've said it. A Hindu was killed for being an assertive Hindu because his heart effectively was on the right side. And the man wanted to assert his Hindu identity and specifically was asking for equal treatment. Harsha was not asking for the exclusive right of saffron shawls or towels to be worn in school and hijab to be banned. In fact, he was asking for a uniform code. So this is the consequence for a Hindu asking for parity in treatment. Second, I have to say this. Condemnation, apparently, in the language of Mr. Jha, starts by expressing condolence and then goes on to say, but you know, CIA effectively called this organization a terrorist organization or a militant organization. Well, therefore, that's how exactly I'll monkey balance this entire condolence by starting with a condolence message and then say, well, he was a member of this particular organization, and then all of us are expected to buy this hogwash. I have to say this aloud. The fact of the matter is systematic dehumanization of Hindus who are assertive Hindus and therefore members of any party or organization that represents this particular ideology is the reason that this particular boy was murdered in broad daylight. And you have so-called editors such as Shekhar Gupta specifically highlighting murder in single quotes as if questioning the fact that this was a murder. So this is the nature of the creature or the devil that you're dealing with. I refuse to buy that all of this is political. This is fundamentally religious. And therefore, please, let's accept this. Let's at least accept the realities and facts for what they are. You are looking at the third wave of radicalization, and that is the fact of the matter. Those organizations responsible for this must be banned. People have been asking for the banning of the PFI from across the board, from Kerala to Karnataka and other places. How many more murders does the government at the state level and the union level need before they start acting on these urges, on these exhortations? I can't say this enough. We can keep playing these political games, but people who are assertive Hindus are being silenced systematically. It's not just the foot soldier, but people who also represent that particular ideology who are at serious risk. A couple of months ago, we had this news of the RSS headquarters being the subject of some kind of an attack. There were terror threats being issued. This is the nature of the creature. Why do we call this a political murder? This was not a political murder. This was religious. Can anybody say that the hijab controversy is merely political? It is religious. What did he do? Please tell me something. If somebody is a member of the VHP or the BJP or the RSS or let's say the Bajrang Dal, what crime have they committed? If somebody can be a member of the AIMIM, which effectively represents the party of the Razakars, I say this, why can't anybody be a member of the BJP, RSS or any other organization that represents Hindutva? I just don't understand. So I'm sorry to say, I refuse to buy this hogwash. Anybody who minces words in expressing condemnation for this particular broad daylight religious murder is a hypocrite of the first order and is fundamentally an anti-Hindu regardless of his religious affiliation. Whether he's a Hindu or a Muslim doesn't matter. He has become a Hindu hater unconsciously and subconsciously. That is a fact. And I have to say this once more. If the state continues to turn a blind eye to these kind of broad daylight murders, then there will come a point where the community that has just suffered another murder will have to look for options outside the state to protect itself, because the state comes in only after everything is done, and the legal system is not proving to be a sufficient deterrent.
Okay, well, let's not give people ideas. Just 1 second. Let's not give people ideas. Just 1 minute. Sanjay Jha, 1 second, please. Let me just step in here. I need to make a couple of statements. 1 minate. 1 minute. I'll come back to you. Just give me 30 seconds. I just want to say 3 things, viewers. Mr. Shekhar Gupta's name was taken here. He's not here to defend himself. He needs to obviously respond to J-Sai Deepak, and they can have that parallel conversation. So Times Now doesn't take any responsibility for the question, for the point that was directed at Shekhar Gupta here right now. Secondly, viewers, let me just put it on record that the police have arrested 3 individuals. The motives of the crime are being ascertained. We just spoke with the area's topmost police officer just about 20 minutes ago, and he was giving us an idea. There is an apprehension that this particular crime was religiously motivated, but I'm not going to conclusively say that right now because the police themselves are stopping short of making that unequivocal clarification. As for the other statement that is concerned about Mr. Sanjay Jha trying to perhaps suggest that the life of a Bajrang Dal activist is somehow of a lesser consequence. I think, Mr. Jha, you need to respond to that, because even I sort of found that slightly, in fact, quite troublesome.
Okay, so let me quickly respond. I want to tell you, Rahul, I come on your show because 99.99% of the time we have had conversations where there has not been an outrageous, defamatory, or libellous statement made.
Sure.
What I've just heard from the advocate here, I've never encountered him before, is an extremely serious charge, and I do intend to follow this up because you know what he's done? He's twisted my statement. He's tried to categorize me, which is what these people do anyway. And end of day, I will definitely pursue what I will believe will be the logical consequence of a very unfair, blatant, and in my opinion, an orchestrated attempt to frame somebody.
I dare you. Please go ahead. I dare you.
Okay, 1 second. I didn't interrupt you. Let me speak. Number two, very important to tell your viewers on your show, Rahul, that a lot of people who come on the show, including this guy, Sai Deepak, are actually people who are dangerous to our society. This man is a danger to our society because he's condemned.
You've opened yourself to a fantastic case here. Great. Here comes the legal notice your way. Fantastic.
Where is the charge sheet? Where is the charge sheet on the basis of which he's made allegations against a community? Where is the charge sheet on the basis of which he's actually made a very strong statement?
So let's not have a debate on this issue at all until the charge sheet is filed. Is that your argument?
He has been arrested. Does he even know what he's talking about?
Okay, let him finish.
The prime accused in the murder of Harsha is named a man named Kashif.
No, 1 second. Nupur Sharma, let him finish. Let him finish.
I think he missed the point.
Okay, let him finish. The point is that
he's not even up to date on the facts.
Maybe Sanjay Jha, you just need to.
His point. You can't be sitting on your channel and check
Let him get his facts straight.
That's his prerogative, but I
Let him get his
just.
facts straight.
Sanjay Jha, just a couple of things. Look, you may not be up to the facts in this matter. There have been 3 arrests.
Rahul, my last line and I'm done. I want
Like
to
his
say
former
this.
party, he's behind on the learning curve.
This man is masquerading, trying to be a pro-majority supporter, but these are the dangers to our society. They divide us.
Thank you. You've just invited us to the legal notice your way. Come on, let's take notices. I'm happy to do so.
Okay,
I'm happy to do so.
People who hijacked the plane out of
I'm happy to do
psychophancy.
so.
Okay.
1 second, Rahul. He
Mr.
belongs to a
Rahul
party.
Shivshankar,
Nupur Sharma,
He belongs to a party which
let
awarded
Jay Sai Deepak
Vidhan
speak
Sabha
for
and
himself.
Lok
And he
Sabha
goes on to
tickets.
make the statement. I'm happy to
Allow me
take
just 5
notices
seconds.
with him.
1
So
second.
I just have one thing to say to him.
No, 1 second. Forget that. I don't want to get down this
I just
political
have one
sideshow
thing.
right
No,
now.
he
Let
belongs to
Jay
a
Sai
party.
Deepak
1 second,
respond
Rahul.
to Sanjay
He
Jha.
belongs
1
to a
minute,
party.
please. Please.
He belongs to a party.
It doesn't matter which party he
seconds,
belongs to.
Rahul.
I'm just saying. I don't want the
2 seconds,
BJP to
Rahul.
respond right now. I want Mr. Jay Sai Deepak to respond to Sanjay Jha. Mr. Jay Sai Deepak, please, I'll lower a fader. Yes. 1 second, please. Madam, please.
My position was very clear,
Yeah.
which is exactly what Rahul Shivshankar's impression was based on Mr. Sanjay Jha's statement that this particular content does not hold cut eyes because he starts by expressing a condolence and then goes on to drop a line about the Bajrang Dal being a militant terrorist organization. If that is defamation, well, Mr. Jha, on a public platform, this could be a danger to the society and whatnot. But that is actually textbook defamation. So I'm happy to trade legal notices. But the fact of the matter is this. The impression that his statement gave is that the death of a person belonging to a particular political organization is a lesser death. Therefore, someone belonging to these organizations are lesser mortals.
Well,
that's it.
Viewers,
and that is the public impression that he's given.
Viewers, this is a debate. Yeah, okay, Dr. Ranganathan, yeah, you want to make a point? I want to bring in Saida Falak as well as Tausif Ahmed. There was a reference to the AIMM also. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan.
No, Rahul, I wanted to, all of us, with due respect, to get back to the debate.
Yeah.
And I wanted to highlight one point that my good friend Sanjay Jha made, which is he asked a rhetorical question. Who was Pehlu Khan? Who was Akhlaq? So please bear with me for 2 minutes, if you will. You know, the recent Delhi riots, 1,300 people were arrested. And they included roughly equal number of Hindus and Muslims. Both Hindus and Muslims took part. And both Hindus and Muslims lost their lives. And yet, you know it, Rahul, in the age of social media 24/7 videography, there were those who believed that Hindus weren't victim at all. That Ratan Lal wasn't stoned and shot. That Dilbar wasn't hacked and burnt alive. That Vinod wasn't lynched because his bike sported a Jai Shri Ram sticker. That temples weren't attacked and desecrated. That Arun Public School wasn't burnt to the ground. That Rahul Thakur wasn't shot to death. That acid and stones and petrol bombs weren't thrown from Tahir Hussein's roof. that Santosh didn't allow her 2 grandchildren from the window of her house that was set on fire, that Hindu Dalits Deepak and Lala weren't dragged and beaten by a bloodthirsty mob, that Hindu Dalit Shobu Ram's furniture shop wasn't reduced to ashes, that Hindu Dalit Dinesh Khate wasn't cornered and lynched, that Vivek's skull wasn't drilled into by a Muslim mob, that Ankit wasn't stabbed 50 times after he was already dead. There has been a concerted attempt to turn that riot into a pogrom. Facts painted a different picture. This isn't some ancient Indian history that rent-a-penny leftist historians can airbrush. This happened right before our very eyes, Rahul. You'd have to gouge them out first if your vile propaganda is to succeed. And finally, 20 seconds. Sanjay, my good friend, you talked of Pehlu Khan and Akhlaq. Here's a question that I pose not only to you, but to every panelist, including the BJP spokesperson. Who were Neelima, Jyoti, Prema, Jeevi, Devkala, Zaver, Mittal, Neeta, Harshad, Pratasha, Neeru, Chaya, Chirag, Sudha, Mala, Arvind, Umakant, Sadashiv, Mani, Jaisal, Mansukh, Rati, Jamna, Shanta, Indira, Rajesh, Sheila, Manjula, Champa, Diwali, Lalita, Mangu, Pralad, Bhimji, Lakhu, Vithal, Sailesh, Amrut, Narendra, Raman. Who were they? Any panelist can answer. Who were these names?
Sanjay Jha.
Names. Answer.
I'll answer you.
Sanjay
I'll answer you, Anand.
I'll
You
say
rattled
they were
50
Indians.
names. You rattled off 50 names. My
But-
answer will come by. My answer comes with only one simple question. Do you know who said "Desh ke gaddaron ko goli maro"? Who said?
This is exactly what I'm saying, viewers. This is exactly what I'm saying. There is an over-investment. Now, 1 minute.
5 seconds. I need to tell every panelist who these names were. These were the 54 names who were burnt alive in Godhra, in S6 coach. Do we know even single name? BJP, right wing, left, non-way. No one knows their names. No one.
Well, viewers, let me tell you one thing. I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you this because we have all learnt from the lessons of the past. Some of us, of course, refuse to, but those who have endured communal violence know one truth, that there can be no reconciliation when there is no truth. Remember that. We are not having a debate here to apportion greater guilt on one community or the other. All we are trying to do, viewers, tonight is to tell the truth to some people who are today in danger of being made to believe lies that they are reading of this social media and through the platforms of certain leading political parties in this country that are invested in a particular ideology. Viewers, this is very, very dangerous. We are playing with fire. Someone needs to go with a 50-foot hose and spray that place down with the truth. You're not going to have reconciliation as long as young girls are told by the likes of, I'm sorry to say, Ms. Falak, and I heard you the other day, that they have the choice to wear a particular garment at the age of 12 and 13. The day responsible community, political leaders like yourself start telling the truth, we will not have this feeling of victimhood, and we will not have the backlash that it engenders. And that is really what we need to focus on. Saida Falak, right now, J. Sai Deepak said that there has been an overinvestment in dehumanizing one particular community by parties such as yours. How do you respond to him tonight?
See, first of all, what happened with Harsha is wrong, very wrong. I condemn that. Police investigation should be made, police inquiry should be done. Yes, but is it right for BJP leaders to make irresponsible statements like Musalman Gundo ne Harsha ko maar diya, Harsha ka jo hai balidan ho chuka hai, wo Hindu ekjut ho jao. And because of such statements, there are many disturbing videos coming from Shivamogga, where Bajrang Dal activists are attacking Muslims, pelting stones at them, burning their houses, vehicles, shops. Is it right? The government should be questioned for this. The police should be questioned. Law and order should be questioned. Is it right? I want to ask the BJP representative here. Do they condemn what the statements have been made by the BJP leaders?
To this, Rahul.
Do you want to respond? Nupur Sharma, go ahead.
I would first and foremost tell this lady, you belong to AIMIM. Don't forget what you did to Taslima Nasreen. And also that your leader went with his friend to his ex-wife's house to do halala. And he was put behind bars.
Who has given ticket to a terrorist?
Do you know who the person arrested is?
Pragya Thakur, terrorist.
I did not actually interrupt this lady here.
Saida Falak,
Rahul,
no one interrupted you. Let her finish. Let her respond, please.
I tried to call out. The minute I tried to call out Sanjay Jha for his rubbish, I'm sorry you stopped us. Please stop these other people as well. Now the fact is, the person arrested in Harsha's murder is called Kashif. Do tell me if he's Kashif, Trivedi, Tiwari or Sharma or Chaturvedi for that matter, or maybe a Batra or a Bhatia or something. Kashif happens to be a Muslim. So if you're saying that Muslims did not kill, and secondly, I challenge you to name the addresses and the people whose houses are being burnt, whose shops are being looted, because otherwise this is fake news and you're trying to incite violence in the state of Karnataka.
Well, viewers,
and I would urge via this channel and right after
I
this,
began by saying that individuals invested with the potential of influencing minds, please stick to the verifiable facts and the truth. Please, if you don't have truth, can't bring yourself to speak the truth, better to keep quiet. Very sensitive times in Karnataka. Very sensitive. I'm running out of time, viewers. Tausif Ahmed, I just hope you take the high road tonight and you come out and say unequivocally that this is not acceptable at any level, and that both community leaders must go out there and follow to the last letter and of course the spirit of the High Court interim order right now, and end this massive, contentious, at the barricades protest that is making people feel that they are being victimized. I'm only saying uphold the law as it has been in the interim laid down. Is there something wrong? Is it a mistake to ask for this, Mr. Ahmed? Is it a problem?
There is something very, very wrong happening. Rahul, you yourself said that there is no link with this murder to the hijab protest. There is a police statement which says that personal enmity angle has not been ruled out. Yet you have allowed your TV panelists to come and speak whatever they wanted to, or in another way spread, hatred. These are the statements which were used by your panelists, which will result into hate crimes. It is what is very, very wrong, and I'm so disheartened that media houses have become a tool in BJP's attempt to fight the election on the issue in 5 states on whether a Muslim woman should wear hijab or not. This is not an election issue. This is not what should have been an election agenda.
So then why don't you come out and take a stand against the PFI,
the platform,
the AIMM?
No,
one second, Tausif Ahmed. One second, Tausif Ahmed, you need to come out then. One second, you need to come out then and condemn the AIMM, the PFI, the SDPI.
There is no economy.
Okay,
there is no talk of unemployment. There is no talk of anything, any relevant issue. But whether
I did not expect you to take the high road. I realize that as far as you are concerned, you are another incendiary, another individual invested with the idea of trying to whip up another. No. Now you want people like me shot also now. That's what you want. You want me to be killed? You want me to be killed? You want me to be killed, sir? I realize what your game is.
There are violent elements.
I am sorry, Mr. Tausif Ahmed. You are today way out of line. 1 minute. Let me lower your fader, because you have not adhered to the basic decorum here. Basic decorum. Viewers, we all started by saying, and this is very important, we all started by saying that we have to start speaking the truth. If we do not accept the truth for what it is, we're going to have people who are going to try and pick at the seams of inter-community ties. They're going to pick them apart, and we're all going to fall into a massive crevice. That is what we're seeing. That attempt is being made. Dr. Ranganathan, J-Sai Deepak, very quickly to you. Dr. Ranganathan first and J-Sai Deepak last. Yes.
No, very quickly, just 2 points. My good friend J-Sai, in fact, mentioned a name and you said, look, that person is not there to defend himself. So fair enough. But Rahul, you know that a journalist who shall remain nameless from your fraternity actually did not condemn the death of or killing of Prashant Pujari because he said he belonged to the VHP. You know very well there is a Carnatic classical singer who said he doesn't really mind if RSS people are killed. Or he insinuated that because the first propaganda is to dehumanize them, the Hindu workers. And may I please just 10 seconds ask with respect, the AIMM spokesperson, the lady there, just a simple question. Madam, are Ahmadiyas Muslims? Yes or no?
Ms. Falak, we can't hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Rahul,
Yeah.
why did you bring in AIMIM here? AIM is not a party who gives a ticket to a terror accused, MP ticket. And AIM is not a party who welcomes and garlands terrorist and rapist. BJP does that. AIM does not.
Are Ahmadiyas Muslims? Are Ahmadiyas Muslims, ma'am?
Why are we bringing Ahmadiyas here? I don't understand.
Why can't we? Why can't we? I love Ahmadiyas.
See,
I think they are
BJP
Muslim. Do you think they are Muslims?
BJP has
Will you answer that?
issue. That's why this is happening all over India.
It might be difficult.
BJP
It might be
Rahul,
difficult. You see, viewers.
BJP should be held responsible.
You see, viewers.
You accuse the Hindus of bigotry
Hate
and of
statements,
sectarianism.
hate speeches are
You
coming
are
from
not
BJP
prepared to
leaders.
accept a fellow
Hate
Muslim as
speeches
Muslim.
are coming from BJP.
Okay.
Hate speeches are
Okay, let's silence everybody. I want to bring in J-Sai Deepak. J-Sai Deepak, very quickly to what one of the other panelists accused you of spreading hate, etc., etc. Tawseef Ahmed. Quick response if you would want to.
I presented the facts. If that amounts to hatred, so be it. The point is this: every Hindu killing is reduced to personal animosity, whereas everybody else who dies is because of Hindu terror and Hindu terrorists. That is the status of Indian secularism for you. Thank you.
Well, viewers, lots of false equivalences are drawn, some of them on tenuous facts. I just want to say, viewers, right now, we have a problem here. Who is going to show the statesmanship? I don't certainly see the AIMM doing it or the Congress doing it. They just speak forked tongues. I don't even see the BJP doing it right now. Viewers, we have a problem. And I'm underlining that problem. Refusal to accept the truth, the fact. For the moment, I want you to listen to what a senior police official in charge of the investigation into Mr. Harsha's death has had to say. Listen to this.
We have 4 teams in the field being headed by inspector and DSP level officers, persons, and further investigation is on.
So the identity of the accused, has it been found out, sir? Who they are they from the locals or whether they belong to any political party, sir?
See, I may not be able to give that kind of investigation give that kind of information at this point in investigation. So suffice to say that we have very strong evidence to prove that these are the 3 people who were very much part of the murder. Okay, to that extent we have evidence to confirm, and based on that only their arrests have been made. Okay.
So several are saying that he's a victim of hate crimes. Is that the true?
See, let the investigation proceed, then we will be able to give a more conclusive answer to that.
So some of the BJP MPs are saying that Popular Front of India is behind this murder. Is that anything come up in your investigation so far?
See, I at this point in time, I think I may not be able to answer this question.
So is it only...